Wow, I think I timed that perfectly. It turned 9 o'clock and said I was streaming live on Facebook at the same time. That's a miracle. That never happens. So
Nice.
good morning, everybody. Happy to see you at On Action Zone. You know me, I'm Rosie. Valerie won't be with us today, but I brought two of my buddies with me today on some pretty cool stuff that I can't wait to share with you. This is one of those, we're going to talk about one of those topics that just blows people out of the water. Absolutely blows people out of the water. I'm going to let them introduce themselves first, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. But I think once you know who they are, you're going to get a better idea of the painful topic that we're going to discuss today. Walter, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Walter Mathews. I am the Cigar City Toastmaster. Right now, I'm the treasurer, but in the past, I've been the president. And we are the Cigar City Toastmasters chapter that meets at 1 Million Cups there in Ybor City. That's me in a nutshell. My background is I was military. I retired after 20 years. And during the majority of my career, I was a public affairs officer. So I understand the topic pretty well that we're about to go into. Thank you.
And am I also understanding that you're recently a flight instructor?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. I recently completed and got certified to be a flight instructor, and I am looking for people that want to learn how to fly in the Tampa Bay area. Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. I was so excited for you when I saw that on some of your Facebook posts. So David, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
I probably should have went first. I didn't, I'm not a flight instructor, so I don't have that. To compete with. But my name is David Garza-Manahan. I'm a USF alum, and I am a lead organizer for 1 Million Cups Tampa. We run out of the ECC in Ybor City. Right now we're virtual, but we usually run around 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, and then Walter comes in with his group shortly after. So nice to be here.
It's like a tag team at the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center in Ybor on Wednesday mornings, right? Mm-hmm. The Cigar City Toastmasters, we founded several years ago. I can't even think of how long ago it was, but it is still chugging along. And after you, I'll make sure that you have links in here so that you can find out more about it. And 1 Million Cups, of course, is the opportunity for business owners to pitch their business. So this is why I brought you two here together, because everybody knows that the fear of public speaking is like ranks right up there. And until I really started researching it, I didn't realize that the fear of public speaking is the #1 fear of people. 75% of the people say that they have a fear of public speaking, which just blows my mind, even over their phobias of death and spiders and their fear of heights. Isn't that crazy?
I think you feel like you're dying sometimes when you're up there by yourself.
That's so true. That's so true. The point though is, or the problem though is that if you are a business owner or you're starting your business, you have to be able to speak about your business, and you have to be able to speak to different audiences to deliver the content that they need to hear to accomplish your own goals. So that's whether you're talking to a business, somebody that might invest in your company, or talking to a potential supplier or vendor, or of course, talking to your customers. So Walter, how is it that something like tell us about speaking in public, not necessarily specifically with Toastmasters, but what you know about speaking in public and some ways that they can improve their public speaking.
Well, first of all, you don't need to imagine everybody naked, because that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. But I definitely encourage people to stick to things you know and understand. I think that's one of the biggest fears for many people is looking foolish, and definitely being, they're looking naked. Yeah. Looking like they
totally exposed, that they don't know what they're talking about, right?
And that's because they don't, and most people don't. You see people on TV, politicians or whoever that's been trained, or they're great at BSing. Most of us understand we're not that good. We don't have those kind of poker faces, and we don't want to be exposed for the, what might be might be considered fraudulent, if you will. But I encourage people to just stick with what they know. When I was in the military as a public affairs officer, we would give training to the various sailors, and exactly what we tell them is just, you don't need to talk to people about the policies of what's going on in Washington, D.C., because that's not where you work. All you need to do is talk to visitors about your job, what you do. If they have any other questions, point them to your friend that has whatever other job that it's related to. And if you can't answer it, then we'd ask them to send them back to us. And my job was never to be an expert. So when I try to speak publicly, I'm not an expert. And if I need an expert, I go find an expert. And I just encourage people that, just stick to what they know, and the rest will take care of itself, and be willing to collaborate with others. I think that's, especially in the entrepreneurship world, you got so many people that are, it's mine, it's my idea, I can't share, it's super secret.
Yeah.
And we live in a world of billions of people, highly unlikely that you're the only one that has that idea.
Yeah, that's so true.
Hate to break it to all of you guys. None of us are that original, but collaborating with people smarter than you. Those are a couple things. Stick to what you know and collaborate with people who are smarter than you. You don't need to be the only one on the stage that knows everything. In my opinion.
That's a really good point about stick with what you know, because particularly when you're pitching your business, you think you know everything about your business, but somebody might ask you a question that is indicative of the fact that they know something about the industry, or maybe they had an experience as a customer with somebody in that industry. And if you are faking it till you make it kind of thing, you're going to be found out pretty quickly, and then your credibility is shot. You can't make it up as you go along. I read this thing many years ago that said 62% of all statistics are made up on the spot, including the one I just gave you. And so if you're going to speak, I know but it's true. If you ever fact checked some of the things that people say, but when you're talking about your business, make sure it's what you know, and that you know what you know, not what you've read and the research you've done. Make it personal. And I was reading an article in Forbes about like the top 10 things you need to know about public speaking. And one of them was make it what you know, make something that you're knowledgeable about, but then make it personal. Because then, and I think that holds true in all of the speeches that I've listened to and even delivered at a Toastmasters club. When it was related to me personally, my speeches were much better. I was much more engaged with the audience, or they were much more engaged with me. That was really important because I knew what I was talking about. And then I made it personal too. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I personally, when I am not an expert or I'm not interested in a subject, it kind of shows. So
you mean as a speaker or as
a speaker? Yeah. Or, yeah. Throughout your careers in the military is one big corporation. In the world of corporate land, if you will, you're gonna have to give speeches on topics that you're maybe not necessarily overly thrilled about or that knowledgeable about. Mm-hmm. And in my case, it shows. I am not a poker player. I'm not a good poker player. So if people want to win, if people want to make money, they play me. So.
Yeah. So David, what's your take on this? At 1 million cups, people deliver pitches about their business, and we'll get more into the specifics of that. But how do you feel about what Walter said about speaking, that you need it to be something about what you know, and then what I added about making it personal?
So in business in general, you can tell when somebody's going into their business for a genuine purpose or genuine reason. It comes off, they might not realize it, but it comes off like naturally. So if someone's going into business because they love what they do, you can tell the passion that comes out of them. But you also see people who go into business to make money, which is great too. You can do that, but they're not knowledgeable on the subject. It's just like, let's say a trend that's going on. Like, let's say sneaker reselling. People love to do that. There's people who want to get into it because it makes a lot of money, but there's also people who don't know anything about what, how to do it, what's pricing, what the sneakers are about, because a lot of them have like a backstory to them. So you can tell when it's genuine, and it's kind of like, speak about what you know. And we also have presenters that present every so often that they'll try to talk about, like, they'll try to use bigger words and more sophisticated stuff that they don't need to worry about. It comes off kind of tacky a little bit. And luckily, 1 Million Cups is an educational experience. So we're there to educate the presenters. We're not there to grill them like, hey, we know you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, maybe spin it in a way that you can talk about it more comfortably because, you obviously don't know this part of the business. That's why you're here to learn about that. Talk about what you do know. Talk about, how you got to this point and what sticking points do you have.
Well, when they're thinking about how they're going, and I know Walter and David, we both used the word speeches or public speaking, but I want to make sure people that are watching understand that we also mean when you're just having a conversation with somebody over a cup of coffee and they ask you, hey, tell me about your business. You need to speak about that off the cuff pretty eloquently, which I didn't do just now. But you need to speak about it in a way that does display your passion for the genuineness of why you're doing what you're doing. But then you also need to couple that with kind of the basics of that elevator pitch that we all talk about, that 2 or 3 minute thing or even a 30-second thing that describes what you do, what your business is about. And I love, this was another tip I saw, is to build the anticipation of the person who's listening to you so that they want to ask you more questions. They want to engage, like, wow, that's pretty cool. Tell me about that. If you don't get that response, your pitch is not perfect yet. Although I did read a tip that said you shouldn't try to be perfect. Go ahead, Walter.
Absolutely. Yeah, just accept the fact you're human, and none of us are perfect. But me personally, one of the things I've been working on, and one of the reasons I joined Toastmasters, is to improve my communication ability. And you really hit the nail on the head. It goes beyond just giving speeches. At Toastmasters, we're trying to prepare people and help people communicate better. That's why we talk and spit out words. But we don't only communicate spitting out words. We write, we make gestures,
Right.
Facial
expressions.
Facial expressions. So we do all sorts of, we communicate in a variety of ways. And so we also, for people to get over that fear, they need to understand there's various tools that they can use that might play more to their strengths. If you're not as verbal, there's other ways to communicate. We got people that sign language, deaf people sign language. There's other ways to communicate. It's just a matter, you can find a way that really fits within who you are and who your authentic self is, and it allows you just to be yourself and effectively communicate with people. We also need to remember that communication is supposed to be a two-way street. There's this academic model of communication with sender or receiver, and it bounces. The lines that go from the sender to receiver come back in the way of feedback. And I think a lot of people miss that. A lot of times people will listen to a friend and sitting down with a friend, and they're trying to think of what they're going to say next.
Right.
We need to get over that. We need to turn that off so we can really understand what the person we're with is trying to convey to us, so we can appropriately respond in an effective way.
I think that's a really key point to something that people don't think about or know about when we talk about Toastmasters. And I want you to tell more about what that program is like, but Toastmasters is so much more than learning to speak. It's that whole, like you said, that whole communication piece, but you absolutely learn to be a better listener at Toastmasters, because you have opportunities to provide that feedback to the speaker, either through evaluations of that speaker or just the little love notes that you write them at the end, things that that portray to the speaker that they communicated well enough that they got relevant feedback. But then you as the listener can feel like, I'm learning this listening skill better than I have before. Talk to us a little bit about what Toastmasters does and how it works, and to make people better speakers and communicators in general.
Absolutely. Toastmasters is essentially a club where you are given the opportunity to practice skills, communication skills that you're normally not going to get in the real life, in the real world. It's a place where we're not there to verbally shoot you. I tell people, don't come here with your verbal flamethrowers, is another phrase I like to use. We're here to support each other in a constructive way. And one of the ways we help people learn to be constructive is through what you said, evaluations and giving feedback. I mean, how many bosses out there don't give great feedback?
Mhm.
I mean, all of us, if we've been in some position of authority, at one time or another, weren't that great at giving feedback. How many parents had to learn how to give feedback to their children?
Yeah, true.
A friend needs to learn to give constructive feedback to their friend without totally shooting their friend down and crushing
Right.
their confidence. That's the beauty of Toastmasters. I totally underestimated when I was younger. I heard about Toastmasters when I was younger, and I just wasn't ready, and I didn't understand that it goes beyond just standing up there and practicing a speech. It's all about the 360 degrees of communicating to, we have exercises, what we call table topics, where you practice doing basically elevator speeches. Somebody gives you a off the cuff question, and then you off the cuff have 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes to respond. We have different varieties of speeches. We have a whole curriculum called Pathways, where if you want to practice a specific type of speech or a specific type of leadership, they have an actual curriculum that will guide you through that to help you become more effective in whatever it is. Me personally, I've been working on what's called the dynamic leadership pathway, just to increase and improve my leadership skills and communicating as a leader. Let's see. I mean, there's so much to it. What else? We talked about the evaluations. I think the biggest thing for Toastmasters is I encourage people to at least try it, at least give it a chance. It's not what most people think it is. It's really a great place. Like a lot of times you don't have the time or the chance out there and at your job to make the mistakes you can make in a club.
Right.
Where you can practice how you want to deliver. You can practice different kinds of communication styles and try to really find the style that works for you. I think Toastmasters has really been helpful, and not just on me, but many, many other people, and helping them in a safe spot where they're not going to get shot or they're not going to lose their job if they make a mistake. You're not going to lose $1 million deal at Toastmasters.
Right.
So it's a great place to practice.
That is such a great segue into what David does with 1 million cups, because, and going back to what you said about it's not what you think it is. I remember seeing on the old Denny's restaurants and Perkins Pancake House restaurants a little plaque that said Toastmasters meets here. And back in the day when I was younger, it was there were always men in suits in that room, and it was very formal looking, and I never saw any women in there, and I don't know if even women were allowed in there back then, but it was it was never something that I thought that would be valuable to me. David, not knowing what having an assumption about what something is keeps people from participating often. Tell us about 1 million cups. And I think especially how Walter said that, this is your safe place to learn, because I think that's key to the 1 million cups, and people don't realize that. Tell us about the process of 1 million cups.
So before I can get to that, I just want to circle back, kind of like a small testimonial for Walter and Toastmasters, because I join in every week. I supervise the Zoom calls or in-person meetings. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever attended since I've been watching them, but I listen. I get to practice my listening skills, and some of the people that go through it, they're definitely going into thinking that, how well said, they think they're going to be flamethrowers, like because they're bringing in a speech or they've never really done post speaking before. But I've seen a lot of people go through it and adapt, and that's the biggest thing. They've learned to adapt and kind of learn how to communicate better, whether it's like Walter said, writing it down or actually, verbally communicating it. So Walt and his team are doing a great job. I just want to give that little testimonial out there. But the process for 1 million cups, yes, I tell lots of people who have businesses or business ideas, entrepreneurs, I'm like, hey, you should present. It's your business idea sounds great. We let businesses that are 5 years and younger jump in on the stage, the virtual stage, and a lot of them are always like, oh, I don't want to get like critiqued too harsh. It's like, it's not about that. It's about just showing up. It's an educational experience. Um, don't be afraid about, negative feedback. It's all about feedback that's going to help you grow your business and to get the word out there. Because a lot of people, they constantly say, oh, I should have did this a long time ago, because it's just getting the word out there about your business. And then you get to meet lots of people in the community that help you make connections or make deals here and there. And it's just a big community that we like to keep strong. No one's there to kind of ridicule you. It's just apply, or even just join in for a couple meetings and then speak then, and then give it a shot.
Yeah, that's what's really fun. That was what I love most about 1 Million Cups. First of all, as a viewer, and a audience member, to see the various business ideas that are popping up in this region and how innovative they are, and how people are so tenacious about thinking of a concept and then running with it. And then they get in front of that community of entrepreneurial peers in a 1 Million Cups meeting. And it is absolutely not a sales opportunity for you. It is not, you don't go there to pitch your business to get an investor or to sell some of your products. That ultimately probably happens. But the joy of 1 Million Cups is you've got a room full of entrepreneurs, much like you have a room full of speakers and Toastmasters that want to help you succeed. And their job there is to be supportive. And when you ask, I love the one after you give your 6-minute spiel, they say, what can the community do for you? And you have to, as a presenter, embrace that and go, this is what I really need. I don't think my marketing is on target at all, and I'm really stuck. How can I fix that? I presented 30 seconds of my elevator pitch at the beginning of my presentation. Was that really effective? You have an opportunity to ask people who have been in business or are community members aspiring to be in business. And you never know who's in that room. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what valuable advice or connections or resources you might get there. It's just such an incredible opportunity. Couple that with the Toastmasters piece where you learn to be comfortable speaking, and it's just, you hit it out of the ballpark. We were talking earlier, David, before we went live on Facebook, that for the last 5 years that I've been working in entrepreneurship at the ECC through various organizations, including my own, I've been telling people, go to 1 Million Cups. And until earlier this year, or it might even been the end of last year, I had never done it myself. And I felt like such a fraud telling everybody to do it. But boy, now that I have, what an awesome opportunity. Just to, first of all, you validate your own idea, right? Tell us, what were we talking about, David? People feel like, oh my gosh, this is my idea. I don't want to share it. Like you said, Walter,
Yeah. That's a lot of, that's a big question, or big, I guess, concern that a lot of people have when they want to present their business. They're like, well, they want to hold it, so close to their vest, but it's like Walt said, there's so many people in the world. This business idea is out there somewhere. And some business ideas might be oversaturated. Some might not be, done at like to the extent where you don't see it everywhere, but it's still out there. But it's one of those things. It's all about, I tell people, how they do it. It's all about how you run your business. There could be two cell phone stores, but it's all about how you run your cell phone store compared to the competition. And I always tell people, don't even see them as competition either, especially localized like businesses. There could be, let's say, consulting services for vets. There could be like 3 or 4 consulting session services for vets in the Tampa area. Don't see them as competition. See them as, how can you guys benefit one another? Because you might do something better than this guy does, and then this person might be better than something than you do. So you can send clients that way. They can send clients your way. It's all about making that ecosystem cohesive and work for both of you.
And strengthen for the community, not for the businesses.
I would also add to that.
Well, I've seen businesses like try so hard to be better and kind of, undercut these other similar businesses, and then they end up hurting themselves in the long run.
Yep, absolutely. What were you going to say, Walter?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add to that. 100% is one thing people forget too, is that you're not going to resonate with everybody.
Right.
Yeah, you don't get along with everybody. You don't see the world and the same lens as everybody. You don't connect with everybody. It's the same way with your business and potential customers. Everybody has this dream of being global and connecting with everybody. But believe it or not, those big corporations actually find ways to connect with the local. They have the funding to figure out how to make differences in their menus or whatever they're offering to the various regions that they're connecting, because they understand not everybody is the same everywhere they are at. If you can bring that down to your lower scale level and understand, especially initially to get going, you got to find the target customer that is most, that your business can most effectively serve. And you're not going to be able to please everybody. You're not going to resonate with everybody. So somebody selling the same thing as you, they're probably connecting with a different type of customer. Find the customer that, is within your ability to stay authentic, that you can still connect with and be yourself and connect with them. And you're gonna be as successful. And like David said, you'll become part of that ecosystem for whatever it is you're selling.
There's a reason why shopping centers have food courts with all kinds of variety in their food, because not everybody's going to eat a Mexican meal every day, and not everybody's going to eat Italian or German every day. There's, variety is important. And as David mentioned, you could have two businesses that cater to the same demographic of individual, but the services they provide could be different, or the way they're provided could be different. And that doesn't, you both have it. There's enough customers for everybody. I was so intent on listening, I forgot the question that I was going to ask.
Well, but before you ask your question, let me just also add to that. Also remember, circling back to the world of communication, the way we communicate, we don't communicate with everybody the same way, based upon who we are or various experiences that are shared, et cetera, et cetera. And that's another thing to think about with regards to your business and with regards to actually trying to communicate it. Is you're not going to resonate. Effective salespeople know like within a second, almost like dating. Well, technically, I don't know much about dating, but
I was going to say I'm not big on that one.
Okay, so much. All right, forget that example. However, when you meet people, you kind of get a feeling within seconds whether or not you feel comfortable with that person, and maybe you keep talking to them a little bit more, get to know them a little bit more. Then internally, you're trying to decide if you're going to accept what they're talking to you about, and right. They're doing the same thing to you, going back to the 360-degree model of communication.
Yeah, that's what people don't think about, is that while you're all nervous to speak and to meet new people and to make those business and personal connections, the people on the other end are having the same anxieties, the same concerns and fears that they're not going to like me, or I'm not going to sound smart enough, or I forgot all those facts I needed to deliver about that. So you're absolutely right. If you remember that, it's better than imagining them naked. Imagine that they have the same fear that you have. So especially when you go into a new networking event, I always say that I'm an introvert. I don't like networking events. I'm along the wall with the other people that don't like to network. And somebody has to drag me out. Once I know you, I'm the life of the party, but maybe not the life of the party, but I'm at least social, and I love to be social. But it's getting past that. And sometimes I have to remind myself that the other people are just as nervous to meet me as I am to meet them, even if they don't admit that out loud. Mm-hmm. David, at 1 Million Cups, what kind of presentations do people have to prepare to give a presentation at 1 Million Cups?
So you
talk about kind of the pieces to that.
You get 6 minutes, and we do have people that go over a little bit, but we try to make sure they're not going because there's some people that need to adapt, that they can speak forever. There's also some people who can only speak for a couple minutes at a time, and we try to push it like, hey, your presentation, because I do dry runs with everybody. I was like, your presentation's lacking a little bit, not in like how it looks or how you're presenting it, but you add a little bit more information. You want to be, at least from what I've noticed, the best presentations are a little ambiguous, but not too ambiguous where like you don't know what's going on, but you want to make sure they ask questions. You want to bring them in. You don't want to give them every single piece of your business, like every little fine detail, because then what's there to ask after you've given that? So they get about 6 minutes, and then after that, we always start off a Q&A, which is about 12 to 20 minutes with what the community can do for you. I always tell them pinpoint 1 or 2 things that you really need to start working on next, but you just don't know how to get to that, whether it's marketing, whether it's how do I effectively look for a physical location or anything like that, you know. So that's pretty much how it goes. And then there's a lot of like Q&A time, a lot of networking and connecting that we do, but it's not as, I guess, grandiose as people think it's going to be, because they make themselves nervous about it. Get on, keep it casual, definitely be as genuine as possible, and you know, you'll get that same type of feedback back to you.
Walter, it seems like all of those requirements, if you will, for a 1 million cups presentation are exactly the kind of skills that you learn in those pathways at Toastmasters. You know, if you can only feel comfortable speaking for 2 minutes, maybe you need to do some type of a presentation in the middle that takes over, you know, a 30-second video or slides that you want them to see. I think Pathways really helps people prepare for that type of presentation.
Absolutely. We have the various curriculums. Let me see if I can pull up the names of those pathways, because there's like 12 pathways. I'm doing dynamic leadership. There's ones that are more focused on actually just speaking. We got a comedy pathway.
I'm going to join that one day.
If you want to go on the we actually have a pathway for people that want to be on the professional speaking circuit, and we got a lot of pathways. So,
and all of them seem to include not just speaking, but delivering presentations within that speech.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them will have presentations within the speech, but they go beyond presenting. I mean, because on some of the projects, it's also about you evaluating or listening to somebody else's on a similar path and giving them feedback. You might have like a project, for example, I'm in the dynamic leadership pathway. So now I've got like leadership projects, which go beyond just me presenting to a group of people. It's me trying to organize stuff and communicate with people, coordinate with people, little projects like that within the club. So it depends on the path that you choose. A path like comedy will probably be more towards tailoring like the various ways for you to build into a comedic routine or speech. I haven't read the actual pathway, but I know it exists. So
yeah, so they go hand in hand, if you ask me, which is why I wanted you both on here at the same time. If you are a business that you need to polish your speaking skills, then absolutely Toastmasters is the place to do that. It is a safe haven where you get positive feedback and constructive critiques to help you get better. And the same holds true when you get to 1 million cups. You deliver that presentation and you have other entrepreneurs who want to help you succeed. So they give you feedback that will help to that end. I can tell you my experience pitching at 1 million cups was just incredible. I got great feedback about the things that worked well in my presentation. And then I got suggestions for how I could improve that presentation, which is more as valuable, if not more so, than the pat on the back. That was a great presentation, because we all want to learn to get better. And the Toastmasters, one of my favorite parts of Toastmasters is the table topics. How many times you go to an event and somebody asks you, so tell me what you do, and you have a minute to do it. You get perfect training right there at Toastmasters to do that. And they're everywhere. In the chat today, I'm going to leave comments. And I'm sorry if you're watching and you're saying, why isn't she saying good morning? Because my battle buddy is not here and I cannot multitask that way. I can't talk and read Facebook posts at the same time. I apologize. But you know that I love you all, and I will get in there after this is over and make comments. But I'm also going to leave you some links, because I think it's really important that you follow up with these. We talk about a lot of fluff on this Monday morning Cup of Joe, and we have a great time doing it, but I want you to leave with some substance today. So I'm going to give you the Toastmasters link, and wherever you are, we have listeners from all over the country on Monday morning. There's a Toastmasters chapter near you, I promise you. And 1 Million Cups as well. There's probably not as many 1 Million Cups chapters, but there's a lot of 1 Million Cups chapters. And David, correct me if I'm wrong, you register for one and you present, and then you're fair game for all the others, correct?
Yep. Once you're on the website, it's free to apply. Everything, it's no cost to you. You can apply to as many 1MCs as you want. Pre-COVID, people were actually traveling, from state to state to go and present at these different 1 Million Cups, because a lot of them, they're all happening on Wednesday. Some are twice a month, some are once a month. We are every week. But yeah, you can apply to as many as you want, do the circuit. The more times you present your business, the better it gets. The more feedback you get, the better it gets. And who knows, maybe what you started with isn't what you end with. We've had that too, where somebody presented at like 50 in a row, and by the time he got to the last one, his business idea was totally different.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. It works for him. It works better now than it did originally. So yeah, definitely apply on the website, 1millioncups.com/Tampa, and then check out other past presentations and apply, and we'll work with you. If you feel like you're not ready, we will work with you as much as you need to get you presentation ready for that Wednesday morning.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Walter, Toastmasters always welcomes guests.
Absolutely. And the beauty, if you want to call it beauty, the beauty of our new environment is we're moving to hybrid meetings. So we're going to eventually start meeting face to face. Rumor has it. ECC. We're going to start meeting face to face, but we're also going to maintain our virtual presence via Zoom. So we're going to figure that out. So anybody in your audience that wants to visit virtually, they can see how a meeting's run. That's how we do it face to face as well. One thing I do like about going back to the table topics is it allows us to bring in people and involve people within the meeting, because it's only like a minute, no more than 2 minutes. And it's always on a random topic. And we always give them we try to make it fun. We give them a random fun question to answer. Normally it's a great opportunity for people to cut up and have a good time and just kind of make stuff up, and stuff you don't have to think about. You just make it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't even have to be true. But the whole purpose is to get you talking in that 1 minute, 1 to 2 minute time frame, and start getting you to break that ice, if you will, and get over your fear of actually engaging with people in a public way.
Mm-hmm. You were right about the quote unquote beauty of our current situation. The doors have been opened, worldwide access now, where we never had the virtual. It was always available to us, but it wasn't forced upon us to use, but we found what a great advantage it is. And for both Toastmasters and 1 Million Cups, you should know that every Toastmasters chapter and every 1 Million Cups organization is so different. The way the premise of each is the same for their brand, but the way the local people run them are all different. So when you do, like that gentleman did 50 of them, you're gonna have 50 different experiences with 1 Million Cups. And the same is true with Toastmasters. With 1 Million Cups, you can just present and go, and you never have to be part of those people again. But you might find that you like that. Yeah, you might find that you liked the people in that group. And now that we can join virtually, you could just continue to watch. One of our veterans pitched in Tampa and then pitched in Los Angeles, 1 Million Cups in Los Angeles, because his product or service was conducive to something that was happening out there. And I'm still getting emails from them every week saying who's going to be on the roster and if I would join. And a couple of times I have, because it was interesting. Toastmasters is the same way. And I highly encourage people to try several Toastmasters clubs that all have a different personality and focus. I am partial to Cigar City because I think it is all inclusive. We started that with the idea that it was for the business owner, the entrepreneurial community, but it has far exceeded that. There are students and housewives and corporate people and that have been in the club over the last 5 years. Or however many years it's been. I think it's almost 5, isn't it, Walter? It's got to be.
I think 2017 is when you guys started.
Oh, that's so cool. So 4 years. So try them out. I'm giving you the links. You will have free reign to go see where everybody is, but start local, wherever local is for you. Start with your local group, because you certainly want to make friends and collaborative partners locally, but then expand out. So final word from either one of you, and it can't be anything we've talked about. What one piece of advice would you give people, but not just to go do it?
that
That
is my advice. Just go do it. And in all reality, I just get started. And I have a video cast that I'm eventually going to turn into a podcast. And at New Year's, that was one of my things. You have so many seconds in a day. What are you going to do to change your life, make a difference in your life? And I really do encourage people, just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can do it in private. Record yourself. If you don't want to come to a Toastmasters chapter, record yourself and watch it over and over, and then re-record yourself and watch it over and over, and keep doing it over and over until you feel like you're ready to then maybe take a step and come sit in with us virtually. Mm-hmm. And maybe you're next ready to take a step after that. Come in and sit in with us face to face. But just do something, do anything. And then what I would also add to that is, if you do anything and you're not happy with it, it's okay. Do it again and again and again. We have many people in our chapter, not many people. We have some people in our chapter that, we're trying to get them to progress just from one level. What I tell them is, you know what? Just start with one speech. Just read the speech. I know we're at Toastmasters and you're supposed to try to pretend you're preparing for a TEDx. Not really.
Yeah.
Just get a piece of paper, stand in front of people, read it. Next time, get a piece of paper, stand in front of people, reread that same speech. Reread it until you get to the point where you're like, I don't think I need this piece of paper anymore. I had a friend, I still have a friend. He's still alive.
A friend?
I still have a friend. But he really brought up he's not in Toastmasters. He brought up a good point. I was talking about getting people to get up and actually progress in their pathway and speak and use the educational opportunities to progress. Comedians, and not just comedians, professional speakers, they will practice the same material over and over in many different audiences around the country or wherever they're at. They would do the same material, but it's going to evolve and it's going to change over time. And they're going to figure out what works here, what doesn't work there. They figure it out, but they just do it and they learn from it. That's what I tell people. Just start.
One step, yeah, just start.
Take that step. And even if you got to start in a closet with just you and your little Zoom camera, just looking, just start. Get that piece of paper and just start. But I really encourage people to just start and just do it over and over. And they realize you're not, a lot of people, those people that you see on stage, most of them, even if they are naturals, they still have to practice. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk to professional speakers, many of them still get the sweaty palms and they feel the physical aspects of public speaking, especially if they haven't done it in a while. Then they have to get back in the groove of practicing a little bit before they get back up in front of people. It never stops.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill you need to practice at.
It's a skill. It's a very exactly. It's a very perishable skill. But I do say just start. But I also say start with what you can. You can start in front of your mirror. If you don't want to even do it, if you're too scared of the Zoom camera, stand in front of your mirror. Your mirror is not going to boo at you. And don't boo yourself. Just stand in front of your mirror with whatever it is you want to say. Make a little outline, make a little speech, and just do it every day. Every day till you're ready to go do it in front of your family or your dog or your cat, parakeet.
Well, the dog
just get started.
They'll give you love no matter what you say. David, what's your parting piece of advice?
It's kind of like a cliche one, but definitely be able to adapt, whether that's to be open more or to join things on a whim. Just be able to adapt. because that's, for me at least, it's been super beneficial, and it's actually, had more benefits than negatives in my life. So definitely be able to adapt and just be open more about stuff, whether it's joining a club, joining a place to present, or going to a networking event. Just be open to the idea of doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I got. It helps a lot.
It does. And it's great advice. And sometimes it's exactly what we need to hear, especially now when so many are thinking that they would be more comfortable never going back out in public again after being quarantined for a year, that this is going to be a challenge. So just get out there, take that first step, and adapt to what you find when you get there. Great advice. Guys, I so appreciate you being on with me today. I think everyone is going to get a lot out of this. And if you ever want to come and talk to us again, you don't have to wait for an invitation. Just send me an email and I'll get you on, because you guys were fun.
Sure, thank you for having us.
I hope you have a great week, everybody. Walter, David, thank you. I hope to see you both soon. And for those of you on the Facebook Live on Action Zone page, stay tuned. Lots of new stuff coming up, and I'll put the links from today's resources in the chat. So have a great week, everybody. It was wonderful to see you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Rosie.
guys.
Good to see you,
Thank
David.
you.
Good to
You
see you both.
too.
Bye.